to get more followers, more likes, more hearts. I don't know. I don't think we're heading into the right direction. Why it is so hard for us as people to put the phone away.
And I will see you on the flip side. Peace.
All right, ladies and gents, boys and girls, this is your boy Ace K. Baker. I wanted to dive into something today that's near and dear to my heart. The topic we'll be discussing today has changed our lives subtly over the last 10 years. I'm going to talk about how technological advances, especially when it comes to our phones, apps, social media on your phone, and the big corporations behind the technology have been managing to siphon off your focus of the things that are really important and potentially altering the way you and I live our lives. So that's going to be the topic of the day. I'm going to call this little video Stone Focus because that's really what's happening. Our focus in general, all over the world, has changed drastically. We as people are not able to focus as much anymore as we were able 10 or 20 years ago. One of the big reasons for that is the technology and the big corporations behind this technology and the immediate proximity to your phone that is always in your pocket and in your hand. I'm going to start off with an example of me living in San Diego and walking in one of the most beautiful places, Balboa Park. In Balboa Park, I often encounter individuals or families, sometimes even of four, completely distracted, having the phone in their hands, all four scrolling and scrolling. So I've taken a moment and I've stopped them and I'm like, hey guys, do you mind if I interrupt you for a second? And people are looking at me like, what's this guy want to talk to us about? And I'm like, look guys, are you digging for gold? And people are like, what? What are you asking? And I'm like, well, I see all of you doing this guy here, this. And you're in one of the most beautiful places San Diego has to offer. Are you finding any gold? And so then typically people take a step back, put their phone back into their pocket, and look at me and they're like, well, you know, we were just distracted. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. The distractions of the technology, the reasons behind it, and why it is so hard for us as people to put the phone away, to turn things off, and to be present in the moment, and to focus on the things that are most important to us. So then the question becomes, how can corporations and big technology steal our focus? Well, they do it through the technology on our phones. They do it through the apps, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and I'm sure TikTok is one of the apps you all have heard about and that a lot of our younger kids are on. TikTok, for example, is crazy. You open up the app and the moment you open it, you don't have a choice. It starts force-feeding you content. Now, why am I saying this? I feel like so many times when I walk around, especially here in San Diego where I live now, people are always on the phone. You go to a restaurant, people are sitting there, their phones are open, they're sitting there with their partner, and perhaps even the partner and the spouse and the husband are sitting there and both of them are on the phone. Not just ordering for dinner, but they're reading stuff. I don't know what stuff they're reading. I don't know if it's Instagram, if it's news, but that we are not communicating anymore. And I think that is just such a profound change from just 10 or 15 years ago. So how are these big corporations able to siphon off our focus from our focus that is really most important to us? A couple of things. Notifications, content that keeps us on the screen and engaged, a few things. Apps, like I mentioned, like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook. 1. to forced interactions. For example, Snapchat, especially for the younger generation, had called something, it was called Snapchat Streak, where two friends had to essentially create a streak of social interactions. The day they stopped sharing pictures, sharing something on Snapchat, their streak broke. So of course, the young generation wanted to keep that streak going, and they stayed on the apps. Also, the question is, why are these corporations doing this thing? Why are they trying to manipulate our focus into something that may behoove them and not behoove us? Well, it's easy, money. So in case of Facebook, Instagram, it oftentimes boils down to analyzing the user, gaining as much user data as we can. It's so preposterous to think that young, beautiful girls alter their body through plastic surgery to be more like the Instagram filter or the Snapchat filter that resembles the quote-unquote perfect ideal of what they're supposed to be. And keep in mind, plastic surgery is very invasive, right? You cut open your breast and you stuff some implants in there to maybe be more ideal. Where the matter of the fact is, you're perfect the way you are. So why are we doing this? Well, it's sad to say, but the algorithm has trained us for more likes, for more engagement, for more positive reinforcement, for shorter attention spans. You see where I'm heading with this. And at the end of the day, it is understandable. You have more followers, you have more leverage to get branding deals or to do things that bring financial rewards your way. But to alter your body for social media, to get more followers, more likes, more hearts, I don't know, I don't think we're heading into the right direction. Many years ago, when I was a rapper in Hamburg, Germany, I dated a model, a young model. And everywhere we went, the moment I went to the bathroom, there were 2, 3, or 4 guys lined up to talk to her. You know, when I came back from the bathroom, I was like, sheesh. All right, I understand it. So I do get the concept of wanting to look your best and be most attractive, right? I read a study that said jurors are more prone to act in favor of the person who's being judged if that person is beautiful. So I get the concept of wanting to look your best self, but to change your body through plastic surgery to gain more followers, more likes, and more attention is a very slippery slope. And I think it is happening because the algorithm behind the apps like Instagram, like Facebook, like TikTok rewards this synthetic beauty. And it is so sad to think about that, right? That we would modify our bodies through plastic surgery to please a broader crowd. Most of you know that plastic surgery is very invasive and can be potentially very destructive to your body. I mean, it's not just breast implants, it's butt implants. And from all I understand is, you know, all of that is a major surgery. And for what? Jay Shetty, the urban monk, the British Indian who went viral on social media, once said, "This type of technology brings us close to the people who are far and takes us far away from the people who are close." And I do think it's so important to have human interactions with the people you care about who are close by. So being with your friends and scrolling through social media is so disheartening for me to see. I think being present with your friends, creating new memories without distractions is key. I've been in so many situations where people are conning themselves into believing they can multitask, talk to you while they're scrolling through their phone or like doing something on the computer without paying full attention to you. I have arrived at a point in my life where if somebody talks to me and scrolls, I'm like, hey, why don't you do you and I move on, right? And if we're thinking about this technology on a more profound and deeper level, it really isn't meant to help us build deeper networks or more cohesive networks. It is for big tech to siphon off your attention, your and my attention, to drive more revenue, to drive more advertising dollars, to have a more perfect voodoo doll of you and I, so you and I can be monetized. In essence, the algorithm behind all of that is not good or bad, it's simply amoral. But what does that mean? We're being fed content that is more conducive to keeping us on the screen. What that means, technically speaking, content that is more polarizing works better. To give you an idea, when George Floyd was murdered back about 2 years ago, we are in 2022 right now, and I believe that happened in 2020, people were glued to the screens because nobody could believe that an African American gentleman was murdered at the hand of 2 cops or 3 cops, and people were standing by and even filming his execution. So that type of stuff that is so crazy and so far out there is the stuff that grabs your and my attention, right? And that's the stuff you're being fed if you're on social media, if you're on these new day or new age news apps, because it's statistically proven that polarizing and terrible, like aggravating content is keeping us on screen X amount of time more than positive content, like finding out what your loved ones are doing, or you know how this world could be a more beautiful place. No, that's not what's keeping us on screen. It's like the crazy stuff. That's why you see people on TikTok and Instagram doing more and more crazy, more and more preposterous stunts to grab our attention. Big corporations then have built these social media networking apps not to help us build better networks, but to direct our attention to commerce and consumption. Let that sink in for a moment. These networks are not built to hang out with your friends, your family, and your loved ones, but they're built for us to engage in commerce and consumption. And what I mean by that, for example, how easy or hard is it to find friends around you on social networks that are willing to link up for a coffee, a walk in the park, or some entertainment, or whatever that is that you like sharing with your friends? It's fairly hard. I've traveled to many cities in the US, and I've gone on Facebook and did like, oh, friends in Seattle. And guess what? The search results are not great. You can't figure out what your friends are doing. You can't really see easily where they're at. And that's done very deliberately, right? Because the name of the game when it comes to being on the social media apps is taking the most amount of your and my time and gluing us to the screen, not bringing us together as people. And that's what I want you to be mindful of. It could be so nice to have an app that tells you, oh, John is like right next door and John has time right now to connect. But no, that does not behoove big tech and some of these big social media app developers or developing companies. No, it doesn't behoove them. What behooves them if you and I are staying on this phone, scrolling and looking at things so that they can advertise to us and take our focus and direct it toward their commerce goals. Now, why is that important? We think Facebook is free. We think Snapchat is free. We think Instagram is free. We think TikTok is free, but it's not. What you and I are trading is our time, which is our highest and best asset. It's even more important than money, because everybody knows when people are asked on their deathbed, what would you have liked to do more? Nobody says, oh, I would have liked to spend more time on social media scrolling. I would have liked to spend more time in the office working, maybe a Friday night at like 7 or 8:30 at night. No, most people say, I would have liked to spend more time with my family. I would have liked to spend more time with my friends. And I would have liked to spend more time with my loved ones and doing things that are near and dear to my heart. So ladies and gents, boys and girls, I want you to be very mindful of the usage of social media. Now, you and I, we don't have it easy as normal, small people. Because you know what we are up against? We are up against the best and the brightest. If you haven't watched The Social Dilemma, then go ahead and take some time. It's a Netflix documentary, and it talks about the leading masterminds of technology that are sitting there in a control room where they're coming up with this technology that steals your and my focus. Let that sink in for a moment. Our focus is stolen very selectively. We call it surveillance capitalism, right? Because we are spied on. Your Gmail accounts, your emails can be filtered and read through by artificial intelligence. So not only are we up against the best and brightest engineers of Silicon Valley, the best and brightest economists that deal with questions such as how can we keep the people and the users of our apps engaged so we can not only sell to them, but also modify their behavior to suit our purposes. Yes, Google has abilities to scan through your email and then learn what's important to you. But is that really what you want to give up for the free usage of an app? I think it's not all or nothing, right? I think social media is great. You're watching this YouTube video, and I'm forever grateful that you're taking the time to watch my video, right? Because I think it's important. So here's the hack. I make it simple for myself. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and every 3 or 4 hours, I check in. And if there's something really important, I give the person a call back or a text and say, hey, you know, what's up? Like, let's connect over this. So this is my personal hack. I will not allow anybody to take my focus, right? Because I think I have bigger and better things to do. I'm a family father. I'm a divorced dad, yes, but I have 2 beautiful daughters. And when I'm with them, I like to be present in their lives. I like to learn what's important to them. I like to do stuff that's meaningful to them and to myself. I don't want this to determine what I'm doing, right? And that's why I'm sitting here at 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday night and recording this, because I do think it is important that we share this knowledge, that we build community that actually connects in person. And there's bigger and better things to come. I will host possibly meetups to talk more about these things in person so that we can get together as people and not be interrupted by this guy. Here's another fact that I want you guys to be mindful of. When you think you can do multitasking, think again. It takes the average person 23 minutes to get back to the task that they were doing if they've engaged in another activity, if they were distracted. And if you want to do thinking and deep work, or if you just want to be a high performer at work, do you think with all of these distractions that are running on your phone, your laptop, or whatever else you're using, your iPad or your Android Galaxy tablet, do you think you can afford 5 23-minute distractions? I certainly can. So I'm sure if you're really thinking about it, you can't do that either. Here's another fact that I want you to think about. Our sleep over the last 20 or 30 years has declined drastically. From sleeping 7 to 8 hours on average, now we're sleeping 5 or 6 hours. The lucky ones get 7 or 8 hours of sleep. But especially young parents know how difficult it is to find sleep. With the blue light reflecting off the screen into your eyes, guess what? Going to bed in a timely manner is very difficult. And even that is done deliberately to us. Why? If we are a little bit more sleep deprived, we become more impulsive, perhaps even more moody, and we are making decisions that are not in our best interest. Why? If we are not sleeping enough, our impulse control goes down as well. Why does it behoove big corporations to do that with us? Well, guess what? If we're scrolling on, let's say, one of the leading retailers where you can buy stuff online and your impulse control is low, the likelihood of you making an impulse purchase is high. And that, for hundreds of millions of people, translates into billions of dollars into these company coffers. So if you're wondering why you don't sleep that well at night, well, guess what? You're up against the biggest and brightest, and not just the engineers, not just the social scientists, but also the leveraging of AI, artificial intelligence. Now you're dealing with the best and the brightest who want you to buy stuff, who want you to be glued to the screen. And on top of that, we're also dealing with a supercomputer that's run by these companies that learns how to exploit our weaknesses, learns us real well, and then feeds us the stuff that keeps us glued to the screen. However, I also believe in being self-determinant. So what can we do? Well, for starters, we can cut the cell phone usage off 1 to 2 hours before we go to bed. In an ideal world, you'll take this guy and you put him away, you charge him in a different room. You don't have your phone next to your bed. If you have a partner, it may work wonders for your love life. Just saying, guys. But on a more serious note, you do not want to have this blue light radiation raiding into your retina, because that messes with our circadian rhythm. Our rhythm essentially to rise and wake with the rise of the sun and the sunset when it gets dark, because that's what we did as human beings for thousands and thousands of years. Now, with artificial light, we can work on and on and on, and we can be distracted on and on and on. But if you don't want to be that distracted person, take this guy, charge him outside of the bedroom. Take this guy, turn it off 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed. That's a very simple solution for starters. It's not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. A lot of times, happiness comes up when I talk to friends and family, right? Happiness seems such an aloof concept. But you know what happiness is not? Purchasing things that you don't take into the grave with you. Happiness is not scrolling through your Facebook feed. If we are looking around this world and we are listening to what people are saying at their deathbed, then happiness is spending time with people who mean something to you, with your best friends. If you have kids, with your kids, with your family, with your loved ones. That's number one. And number two is to do work that's meaningful to you, right? To work on something that you're passionate about. A job cannot always satisfy that need, but you can certainly take the time to cultivate a hobby once you get home, instead of saying, oh my God, everything was so exhausting today, so let me just drink my glass of red wine or beer and scroll through my social media feed and watch my Netflix. But that's the easy thing to do. It certainly doesn't help provide happiness or help you become a happier person. So think about that for a moment. Think about what's important to you. Think about how you can bring that back into your life now that you know what they want us to do, and now that you know what you would like to do. And sometimes even that's a difficult question to answer. But you certainly will not find the answers of what you're passionate about or what you like doing if you do this guy. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, I hope this little imperfect video has brought you a little light to what you may be doing or what you're experiencing with the friends and the family and maybe even yourself. Focus on what's important to you. Put your phone away. Put your phone on do not disturb. Check messages maybe every 2-3 hours before somebody else sets the agenda for you. Be that through email of your coworkers, or be that through the marketing and advertising that happens through Facebook, and the data collecting that happens when you turn on these apps and you scroll through them endlessly, right? We used to have breaks. Now you turn on Netflix and immediately you're force-fed content just like on TikTok. And we almost don't have a choice but to watch. I know, free will is hard to come by, but we do have a choice. So ladies and gents, boys and girls, I know I took your attention. I hopefully provided some value and a framework to think about all of this to you. I would love to continue this discussion, so drop me a note in the show notes. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know what's important to you. Let me know what you need help with, so I can go and do the research. I can talk to people and figure out, if not the solutions, but then perhaps answers to your questions. I really appreciate you watching this video today. If you haven't already done so, please hit the notification bell. Yes, I'm trying to take your focus just a little bit, but hit the notification bell. Subscribe to my channel. It would mean the world to me, because that way I can grow and help provide more tools, resources, and research that may be meaningful to you, your friends, your friends, and your family. And then, just drop me a note. I would like to know what you're thinking. I would like to help, support, and grow this into a community of people who are living their best lives. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace.